This is a crest of the House of Clare, right? Joel John Holes, right? This is in Ireland, as you can see. It's around this same time period, right? The Irish Rebellion was 1641, and this is the House of Clare. I don't got to say much. You know what that he looks like, right? And remember when one of the places that they Clare was in the west of Ireland. When Cromwell went into Ireland, he was forcing them west, right? And as you can see, I mean, even in Drogheda and Wexford, they were black. So west of Ireland and the Western Island, they were black too. All right. This is the another seal that we saw of the House of Clare from last week. One second. Now, Juliet. Go ahead, Abdul Latif. What'd you say?
And Rita Maria, something like that?
Henrietta Maria. Why was that a problem?
I don't know.
Because she was Catholic.
French Roman Catholic.
That's right. That's right. She was French Roman Catholic. French Roman Catholic.
I'm writing this down.
Good movie to watch is Gangs of New York too. It's in the 1800s, so it's not quite this as old as the period we talking about. But Gangs of New York got a lot of history in there. That if you got a keen eye, you can pick up a lot of the messages in there. I don't know if your parents will let y'all watch that though right now. If they do, it's good. All right. How many years separated the Petition of Right and the Grand Remonstrance? Let Maya do that. You kind of got that one, Abdul Latif. Maya, what's that one? There's a year separating Petition of Right and Grand
13, I
Remonstrance.
think.
All right.
13.
Well, what year was the Petition of Right?
Um, 1628,
All right. Grand Remonstrance was
1641.
correct. Thank you. Give one reason for the Irish Rebellion. The plantation system.
Oh.
The English went over there, set up the plantations, and they had the Irish working on them, right? Now, that's the crazy part, right? Now, we got to understand and keep remembering the context, right? We already established that the nobility and the British Isles in general, we talking about England, Ireland, and Scotland, those are black people. So if there's people going over in Ireland setting up plantations, making them work on plantations, that's black people doing that to black people. And don't get me wrong, there's white people mixed in there, but the people with most of the power, those is black people. All right? What's another reason? What religion were the Irish predominantly?
Puritan?
No, Puritanism started in England. Cromwell was a Puritan. What does the word Puritan sound like?
I think it's just Christian, but they don't really. It's just to call themselves Christians or something. Like they're not really deep into it.
Well, they don't like the complex dogma and the systematic way that the Catholic Church does things, and the popery, and then they felt like the Church of England was, even though they broke off from Catholicism, that they were kind of organized in the same way. They just purity was their main thing, quote unquote, supposedly, right? So they were Puritans in England, the ones that were running Parliament. So the Irish were what?
The Irish were
Yes.
Catholic?
Yeah. The Puritans they hate the Catholics. Okay? The Church of England doesn't like them either. So that's why they could agree on subjugating the Irish, right? So the Irish rebelled in 1641. What else happened in 1641 that we just spoke about? Go ahead, y'all can keep your
The Petition of Right and the Grand Remonstrance.
Grand Remonstrance was 1641. Petition of Right was 1628. when they asserted their rights as a state government. The Grand Remonstrance was when they gave King Charles a document, gave him 204 points. They said, "This is some nonsense. Cut it out. We can't stand you no more." Right? So then the Irish said, "Oh snap! The Parliament they bucking, right? They getting ready to go up against the king." Because think about it, if it got to a point where it was a civil war that year, right? There had to be a few months leading up to it where everybody could see that this was probably
Hear me
going to
now?
happen. Yes. Oh man.
Alright, so this is what I think the historians are gonna be like. Due to the name and being tied to Europe to the European era, we would think that that the the person, the race is white, more specifically European.
Well, of course, people going to assume that because that's what they, after they got rid of all the black people, they, you know, when you go there now, you don't see that many. So it's easy to convince black people that, or just people in general, that that's where they, you know, that they weren't there. But this is the family crest of Androgeda. This is the crest, right? You see it? I couldn't imagine that some white people are going to put some Moor's head on the top of their crest on top of a crown. Right? I wouldn't do it if I was white. I wouldn't put no white person's head on top of my family crest. Right? But one of the sitting there thinking about silly reason and excuses like you just brought up, one thing that they like to say is that they'll say that this is a slave or something like that. When you find a lot of crests like, they'll say those are slaves. I don't know if you some type of duke or earl or count or marquis. I don't know why you would put a slave on your family crest. That's kind of stupid, right? So now this is what we going forward. We got decent time. We're not gonna go past 7:30 for sure. We're gonna discuss who these people were in England, Ireland, and Scotland. We're gonna go into the Act of Settlement. It's from 1652, which is a law that were the first Britain's Negroes. Let's go.
For the first Britain's Negroes, there is considerable evidence that they might have been. Grimaldi relics have been dug up in
Relics. Grimaldi. Relics. Go ahead.
Relics have been dug up in England. Very ancient hooks, strikingly like those of Africa and South Seas, have been underneath at Glastonbury. Unearthed at Glastonbury. Ring money of the kind used by the Negroes of Sudan to pay tribute to the pharaohs, and which is still being hammered out by African goldsmiths, has also been found. Blue beads of 1500 to 1200 BC that are common in the Egyptian ruins have been found in considerable numbers in the Stone Age.
Stonehenge.